Welcome to your deep dive today.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be tackling the one and only
The one.
Andrew Tate.
Yes.
And his take on self-belief and hustle. We'll be kind of dissecting this motivational talk he gave.
Right.
Picking apart his core ideas.
Yeah.
And hopefully uncovering some intriguing insights along the way.
And he's definitely an interesting figure to pick apart,
Oh, absolutely.
to say the least.
He's a walking soundbite. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's a lightning rod for strong opinions, which makes this deep dive particularly interesting. Like you said, whether you love him or loathe him.
Yep.
His words spark debate, and there's a lot to unpack when it comes to personal drive, mindset, and how we define success.
One of the things that Tate really goes all in on is this idea of visualization.
Yes.
He doesn't just dip his toes in. He's
Love
like,
it. Full cannonball.
Close your eyes.
Right into the deep end.
And practically taste your dream life.
Yeah.
To the point where reality almost feels like it's just a stepping stone. It's like this superpower that he's ascribing to it. Is there any actual weight to that, or is it just motivational hype?
Well, that's the thing. What's interesting is that Tate isn't peddling empty platitudes here. He's tapping into a concept used by everyone, from athletes to business moguls. He's tapping into a concept used by everyone, from athletes to business moguls. Visualization. He's tapping into a concept used by everyone, from athletes to business moguls. There's a growing body of research, particularly in sports psychology, that suggests vividly imagining yourself succeeding can actually improve real-world performance.
Wow. So it's more than just a feel-good exercise. It can genuinely influence our actions.
Precisely. By constantly visualizing overcoming obstacles and reaching those goals, you're essentially wiring your brain to believe success is possible. And that belief can lead to greater confidence, increased motivation, and even sharper decision-making when the pressure's on.
So it's like, by visualizing it, it's almost like you're tricking your brain into believing.
In a way.
Yeah.
But it's not really tricking. It's more like training. You're training your brain to recognize those pathways, to see those possibilities.
And then when you're actually in those pressure situations, your brain's like,
oh, I've been here before.
Right. I know this.
Yeah.
I recognize this.
That's familiar.
Tate uses this striking example of champions.
Okay.
And he argues that they don't just visualize winning for a confidence boost, but to fuel their motivation if they stumble. Like they've already tasted victory in their minds, so they're even hungrier to experience it in reality.
Absolutely. He suggests that becoming intimately familiar with that feeling of victory, even if it's just in their minds, pushes champions to work harder and bounce back from setbacks.
And not even just champions. I mean, he talks about this in like a very everyman kind of way. Like, we can implement this too.
Absolutely.
There's a fine line there, though, isn't it there? Where does healthy self-belief tip over into delusion?
That's the million-dollar question. A delicate balance indeed. You need a certain amount of self-belief to even attempt ambitious goals.
Right.
But as Tate himself points out, some people confuse arrogance for confidence.
Right.
Blind faith without the work is a recipe for disappointment.
Right. It's not enough to just believe.
No.
You have to. You have to back it up.
You can put in the reps.
Yeah.
You got to put in the work.
This dovetails into his next big statement, which I think is one of his most famous. Which is, your largest enemy on the planet today is yourself. And he's talking about self-sabotage, that inner critic that we all wrestle with on a daily basis.
Absolutely. He argues we are often our own worst enemies, tripping ourselves up with doubts, procrastination, and fear of failure. He even goes so far as to say most of our failures aren't due to external factors, but this internal battle we wage with ourselves.
Yeah, it's, that hits close to home.
Right. It's like he's peering into our souls a little bit on that one.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like,
that feeling of being our own worst enemy. It's incredibly common, and there's a whole field of psychology dedicated to understanding those self-defeating behaviors. Procrastination, negative self-talk, perfectionism that paralyzes us, all forms of self-sabotage that hold us back.
So then what's the remedy? How do we tackle this inner saboteur?
Well, Tate's solution is as straightforward as it is provocative. Tate's solution is as straightforward as it is provocative. Raw action, he calls it. Tate's solution is as straightforward as it is provocative. It's not enough to dream big. Tate's solution is as straightforward as it is provocative. You have to get your hands dirty and actually make it happen.
Okay.
That's the key.
So it's not enough to just think about these things.
No,
you have to actually go out and do them.
You have to embody it.
That's Tate in a nutshell, right? It's just relentless action.
It is.
But what's intriguing is this analogy he uses of a rain dance, he's saying. Even if we don't see the immediate connection, taking action often leads to unexpected opportunities. Like, it's about trusting the process.
Right, it is. And he argues, it's about shifting from a passive state of waiting for things to happen to actively creating those opportunities. It's about taking initiative, getting comfortable with discomfort, and constantly pushing towards those goals.
So it's this blend of mindset and action.
It's the two sides of the same coin.
Right.
You need both.
You need the self-belief, but then you have to back it up with tangible effort.
It's not enough to just think it.
Yeah.
You have to do it.
Would you say that's accurate?
That's an interesting observation because that's precisely where Tate takes us next, into the gritty realm of effort itself, and how he views it not as a finite resource, but something far more dynamic.
I like that.
Yeah. He ditches the whimsical rain dance metaphor and gets down to brass tacks. Comparing effort to a muscle, he's saying that our capacity for effort isn't fixed.
Okay.
It expands the more we push ourselves, just like a muscle growing stronger with use.
So even if we don't hit the bullseye every time, the effort we put in isn't wasted.
Precisely. This is where Tate's philosophy intersects with the idea of a growth mindset, the concept that's been making waves in psychology and education.
Right.
It's about embracing challenges, viewing setbacks as learning curves, and understanding that our abilities aren't set in stone, but can be developed through dedication and hard work.
So it's not just about, like, being born with a certain amount of talent or ability. Like, you can cultivate it.
Absolutely. It's a muscle you can train.
Through effort.
Through effort, through repetition, through perseverance.
What I find interesting is that Tate doesn't just borrow from the growth mindset playbook. He throws in this raw, almost aggressive spin on it.
Yeah.
He's not just talking about learning from mistakes. He's talking about effort as an end in itself, almost like a badge of honor.
That's a really astute observation. And it's one of the things that makes Tate so fascinating to unpack. He takes these established concepts and injects them with his own brand of in-your-face intensity.
Yeah.
He doesn't just want you to embrace the journey. He wants you to attack it.
Yeah. And that ties back into his raw action mantra, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It's not enough to just think about growth. You have to be out there making moves, even if they're messy or imperfect.
Exactly. He's all about pushing past your comfort zone, even if it means stumbling along the way. In fact, he almost welcomes those stumbles as proof that you're actually in the arena, putting in the work.
He has that great line. I think it's something like, you rarely fail if you truly give something your all, and even if you do, you've still gained valuable experience.
It's a powerful statement because it shifts the focus from outcome to input, from achieving a specific result to maximizing your effort. He's basically saying, show up, give it your all, and even if you don't get the exact outcome you envisioned, the experience itself holds value.
There's a certain freedom in that, don't you think?
Absolutely.
It takes the pressure off needing to be perfect all the time.
Right.
And allows you to focus on growth and learning.
It's about recognizing that true failure lies in not trying at all, in letting fear or inertia keep you sidelined. It's about stepping into the ring, even if you're not sure you're going to win.
It's about showing up for that rain dance.
Exactly.
Even if you're not sure it's going to work.
Because you never know. You might just inspire a whole tribe on a mountaintop to bring you water.
Right.
You never know.
I have to say, I'm starting to see why people are drawn to Tate's message. It's raw, it's provocative, but there's this underlying thread of optimism running through it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He taps into a primal desire for agency, for the power to shape our own destinies. And while his methods and delivery might not resonate with everyone, his core message of self-belief, hard work, and perseverance is undeniably compelling.
It's that classic, like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of mentality. It's appealing to a lot of people because it's like, it gives you a sense of control in a world that often feels very much out of control.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it speaks to our desire to be the masters of our own fate.
So where does this leave us? What are your final thoughts on Tate's perspective on effort, failure, and this idea of raw action?
I think Tate offers a valuable all-bet extreme. perspective on the importance of mindset and action. He reminds us that we have more control over our lives than we often realize. It's a call to take responsibility, to push ourselves beyond our comfort zones, and to embrace the journey, even when it's challenging.
It's like we just went through a crash course at the Andrew Tate School of Motivation.
Right.
Intense, thought-provoking, and we've definitely got a lot to unpack after this.
Absolutely. Whether you find yourself nodding along or pushing back against his ideas, there's no denying that Tate's perspective makes us examine our own relationship with effort, success, and how our mindset factors into achieving our goals.
It's almost like he's holding up this mirror, forcing us to confront not just his beliefs, but our own as well.
That's a great way to put it. And it's in that confrontation, in that moment of self-reflection, that we often find the greatest potential for growth.
It's like maybe this deep dive wasn't just about understanding Andrew Tate, but about understanding ourselves a little bit better along the way.
I'd say that's a valuable takeaway from this deep dive.
Speaking of takeaways, is there anything that particularly resonated with you from Tate's talk?
You know, what struck me was his almost paradoxical blend of aggression and optimism. It's all about attacking your goals, pushing relentlessly. But there's this underlying belief that you actually can shape your own destiny. It's a potent combination.
It's like he's saying, the world's a tough place, so man up and make it yours. But it's not like totally insensitive. It's not like he's saying it's easy. He's saying it's a fight worth having.
It's a fight worth having. And he's saying you don't have to be perfect to start. You just have to start. That's where the raw action comes in. It's about taking those first messy steps, even if you're not sure where they'll lead.
So for someone listening to this, someone who maybe is feeling stuck or unsure of their next move, what would you say is the most important thing to take away from Tate's message?
You have more agency than you think. You have the power to make choices, to take action, to move towards the life you want to create. It might not be easy. It might get messy. But it's in that struggle, that effort, that you truly grow.
It's about finding your own version of that rain dance, that thing that gets you moving, even if you don't have all the answers.
Precisely. Because sometimes the most important step is the first one, even if it feels like a step into the unknown.
And sometimes that rain dance is what brings the answers.
Exactly.
Well said. That feels like a good place to wrap up our deep dive into the mind of Andrew Tate. Quite a ride.
It has. It really has. A lot to ponder.
A lot to ponder.
A lot to debate. And hopefully a few nuggets of wisdom to carry with us.
Absolutely. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and most importantly, keep taking action.